Welcome to Purpose Living Podcast. My name is Anji and your name is
Jen.
Today, we have a new episode for you. Like we do every week, we're talking about vision and plan. That's plain English. Vision and plan. Vision and plan. That's what we're going to talk about. And let's start it by talking about just the conversation around, and I love this, vision with no plan leads to frustration. And I think there's a lot of people that, I think both of us can relate to that when we're trying to do something and we don't have a plan, it can become a frustration because then you just jump from one thing to another and you're like, I'm not getting anywhere. Mm-hmm. What's happening, right? So being able to have a good vision of whatever you're trying to achieve, right? What it is family, what is your vision as a family? What is your vision? What is your personal vision? Right, your wife might have a different vision of what she wants to do. Right, we both have our own vision of certain things that we want to do. But then at the same time, we come together. We have our own vision together of what we want to achieve, and then having a plan, creating a plan of how we're gonna make those things happen. And when we have a plan on how we want those things to happen, then we have a roadmap and how to achieve those things. So.
Yeah. For me, I'm naturally a visionary, so I like to see where I'm going. And then in certain areas of my life, having a very strong strategic plan was really simple.
Yeah.
And then in certain areas of life, having a plan was very difficult because I can okay, this is a good idea, but how am I going to get there? And that's where honestly having other people that have been on the path before you to actually walk by you has been extremely helpful for me. Because otherwise, I don't know what steps to take. I might see where I want to go, but I don't know the right steps to take. And so really asking yourself, do you, if you have vision, if you know where you're going in whatever area, whether that's in your physical health or in your marriage or your finances or whatever area of life that you're looking to achieve something. So do you have clearly where you're going? And so if that's crystal clear, okay, I am going to, let's just say I'm going to lose 30 pounds. I am going to create more energy. I'm going to have a solid morning routine. I'm going to have a solid evening routine. I'm going to eat my fruits and vegetables. These are I am going to create this energy. So that is what I want to do. I want to be able to play with my kids without feeling exhausted. I want to come home and not just give them my leftovers. Okay, this is where I'm going. What is the steps that I need to take? And so if you know the steps, you might say, okay, I'm going to, start to exercise 3 times a week. I'm going to make sure I'm drinking all my water. These are the steps I need to take. If you have no clue what steps that you need to take, that's where you might not need to talk to somebody who is doing what you're doing. So not just talking about what you're doing, but actually living and doing what you're doing. And then finding out, okay, what is realistic for you? What are you willing to do? And what are you committed to do? So whenever we talk about those commitments in having your plan, it's really on a scale from 1 to 10 that you're a 9 or a 10 on your willingness to actually follow through and do it. And so being honest with ourselves, saying, okay, this is our vision, but we're not going to get there tomorrow. What baby steps can we build upon, and what habits can we form in order to create that vision?
Yeah, and I love it because that's how we do things around here with purpose living. Right, the first thing that we do, we look at our current reality. What does your current reality looks like? Because if you look at your current reality, then you can have actually a better picture of what you're trying to do. You know where your starting point is. Now from here, you got to create whatever you see in your vision, right? And for a lot of people, I think most people, we might have a concept of what we want to achieve. And then the next challenge for us is the willingness to say, okay, you know what? I'm ready to take that next step and start creating the plan that will drive me to that thing that I have in my mind or in my head of what I want to achieve. And which comes to, the one of the thoughts that we always have is okay, just because you have a vision, just because you have a thought in your head, doesn't mean that you're gonna get somewhere. There's action that you gotta take. So a plan with no vision leads to nowhere. Mm-hmm. It's what is it? What is it? A dream
with it. A dream without action.
A dream is just a dream.
Oh.
Right? That's what they say.
Something
like that. But a plan with no vision leads nowhere.
Yeah. And so what that really means is like, let's pretend that you're just doing a bunch of random steps, hoping to see results, but you don't actually know where you're going. Okay. So, let's pretend I want to, um, I'm, that's a vision again. So I'm going to just start to work out, and I'm just going to work out and do some exercises, but I don't actually have like a goal in mind that I'm trying to achieve. Now that you're going to see some improvements, but if you set a goal of, okay, I want to run my fastest 5K ever, then your action plan is going to look different than if you just were going to start to work out.
Yep.
Now,
you have a purpose behind it.
Yeah, so having a purpose behind your, like, not just doing things, but knowing where you're going and what you're trying to actually achieve from it. Or like even in like, you know, I can be married to my spouse and we just do life together and like it like just live together almost. Or we can have a vision of building a thriving and healthy marriage, and then okay, because that's our vision, are we going to learn how to communicate with each other? Are we going to learn how each other are wired? Like, what do we need to do to like have that thriving marriage? What does that tangibly look like? Versus we just are married and we live together, we survive together, we kind of do steps randomly, but we don't really know like where we're going as a couple. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. And it's a big part of it, especially in your marriage and your relationship with even your relationship with your family members, right? You hear the stories of a lot of people, and some people listening to this, you might relate to this. Parents start to get old, and you got to start making plans. And if you, as your family members, you know, your siblings don't have a plan put together to help your parents, or if your parents never had any plan for this old age that they're getting into, it could become a frustration for a lot of people. So, you know, creating a vision for your family it's a good thing. Creating a vision for your children. What does that look like when they grow up? What do you want them to learn? Like small things like that. Okay, what do I need to do? Because I just went through. We did what do you call it? We did our 7 steps. And she did it with me, and certain things that she was talking about kind of resonated. I was like, oh shoot, I didn't really think about that. Like I was like, yeah, I want to be the best dad for my kids, right? I want to help them with their schoolwork. Well, what do you want to do? I'm sounding like you.
Yeah.
How are you gonna do that to help you be? What time are you gonna like? You gotta have.
I dug in deep with them.
Your plan, like your plan, is to have like. There's got to be a destination. There's got to be an end goal, right? If not, then you're just kind of wallowing, just like she said. You're just going to keep tagging here, and you're like, at the end of it, you're like, I'm still back at the same spot, right? So your plan has to have like an end goal.
Yeah, and that vision, like, it's really just a good idea without a very strategic plan. So what he's talking about is like, okay, so he said, this is what I want to do. And then we had to ask deeper questions. Okay, when are you going to do it? Like what time are you going to do it? Like, or if it's something that needs a deadline, like when is it going to be done by? Because you have to be able to ask yourself when you're making your action plan, like, did I accomplish it? Yes or no? Like, did I do what I said I'm going to do? Because if not, you can't tell if it's going to work.
Yeah.
And not everything action step that we make, it's not always going to produce the result. It will always, like, it might mature us and work our character and do things that it's going to help us, but it's not every action step that we make. It may need to be adjusted. And then going and asking ourselves, is this even realistic? So for some of his goals that he wrote down, or action steps he wrote down, like he said, he needed this long of time. And then we actually went to, okay, let's look at your actual calendar. Is that even realistic? And for some of them, no, it wasn't realistic. When you have 5 kids and you're doing this and that's like, what is ideal might not be what's realistic. So then let's look at it, because that can't be your commitment if that's not going to be something that's realistic for you. So really asking yourself, okay, do I know where it is I'm going? And then what steps am I willing and ready to take to commit to? And a commitment is a firm decision to do something. What steps am I willing to commit to start to move the needle? Not to like achieve the goal completely, but like that I can just start to make some forward progress towards that vision.
Yeah, so we kind of talk about a lot about planning and the steps.
Mm-hmm.
What does vision, how do you define vision for you?
For me, like visualizing your goals is knowing exactly where you're going to, like exactly what it is you are trying to accomplish with a very clear picture. Like that you, like, so let's pretend I'm visualizing my physical health goals. Okay, so when I like was overweight, battled exercise bulimia, battled body image disorder, battled all those things, my vision had to be, okay, I wake up and I am free to just be confident in my skin, no, regardless of what I weigh. Food does not control me. I do not obsess over food. I actually wake up to fuel my body, to have energy, to be able to run around and have random dance parties with my kids, to not think about weight or exercise as a form of like punishment or what is wrong, but just like I just can wake up filled with energy, filled with life, and not that letting that have any control over me. That's actually my reality now. Years ago, I couldn't, it would have been really hard for me to know that that's possible, but I knew that what I was living, like that reality that I was living, stuck in that, I knew that I didn't want to stay there.
Yeah.
So it's like, what's that best next step to be able to release that and move forward? And then over time, like, you know, you create, okay, I want to live free from all of those things, and then you continue just to build upon it.
Yeah. And for me, another way that I think about it is like a blueprint, right? If you're building a house and they bring the blueprint and they put it on the ground, you're like, you know what, I was thinking about it, but now I can actually see what the structure looks like. And then you wait a couple times, maybe, I don't know how quick people build buildings these days, but you know, down 3 months down the road, you're like, oh, you show up to the land and you're like, oh man, this is starting to look like what I'm thinking about. And then as the process continues to grow and you start to see the bigger picture, right? For me, that's what I think about vision. Vision is I should be able to see it. Like I see it, I might not physically can touch it, but I can see of what it is that I want to achieve. And I always use this for me. Like when I was an athlete in college, I used to go to the track when we come up to the meet, wherever we're competing, and I'll go to the track and I know what lane I'm running in. And I'll literally walk around and visualize myself. Like I see myself what I want to do at this certain point, right? And that's how I kind of like make my plans around the track all the way to the finish line. And then when I run my race, I'm just in there. I'm like, okay, at this point I need to do this. At this point I need to do this, and that's the beauty of it, because when you see it, then you're like, okay, man, this is doable. I can actually do this. Like sometimes our dreams might be a little bit bigger than what we're thinking. Maybe in our head we might not be able to see it, but when we start to write it down, and I think writing down a lot of your goals and your dreams and the steps that you can take makes a huge difference. Of okay, makes things a little bit more doable in your head. It makes things to seem more possible. Write them down and ask yourself, okay, you know what do I want at this point of the year, at this first quarter, what do I want to achieve? You're a business person, right? Second quarter, where do I want to be? Third quarter, we should be at this point. Fourth quarter, we should be here. If you're a business person, right? For me, if you're in a relationship, well, you know, the honeymoon phase is gonna come and go. Life is gonna hit. You're gonna have babies. You're gonna have kids. They want to climb everything in your house. They're gonna throw everything around. Well, what do I need to do in order for me to continue to learn how to love my wife even during those times? Because guys, guess what? The hormones are real when they have babies. And after they have the babies, 3 months, how are you gonna be able, what are you gonna do? Who are you gonna talk to that has been through that to help you realize, okay, you're gonna need patience. You're gonna need to take on certain things as a husband to allow your wife to fully recover from those times, right? In your relationship, How's your communication? How's that going? And how well do you guys communicate with each other? Those things, right? Finances, hey, I want to get out of debt. Well, my friend, you can't go out and be buying whatever you want to buy unless you got money in the bank that you can spend. You know, things like that, all those things. So ask yourself, if I want to be debt free, visualize yourself, well, what does being debt free looks like?
And like, what does that feel like? Like actually like picturing yourself once you achieved that goal. I think that's always powerful of like when you can see, okay, here I am and I have achieved that vision. Like, what am I doing? Like, who have I become? What does that look like? How is that not only, and like for me, it's like not only how is that going to impact me, but how is that going to impact my husband, my kids, my friends, my family, like the people that I'm around? Because like a vision of mine is like a goal of mine is I want to be the best mama that I can be. And you know, with 5 kids and like all of their different, like you can't, how can I be the best mom to everybody all at once? Sometimes that's really hard. And I gotta take that perfectionism off and, you know, just say, okay, like, am I loving to them? Do I discipline them when necessary? Am I doing what I can to be intentional with spending time with them? Like, what are the little practical steps that I can do? Not am I perfect? Not do I not ever have a moment where they drive me crazy, you know, or whatever. Like, not trying to like be perfect at it, but like, am I being intentional with, you know, growing in who I am as a mom?
Yeah.
And, you know, continuing just on that path of like, what is little steps that I can take? And he makes fun of me because I always give my kids a bunch of kisses and things. And then I don't even think about it, but that's just something that I do because I just love them so much. But they feel that love whenever, you know, we get to cuddle on the couch and I can just give them the little random kisses. And it like, that's, you know, it's just little moments of time is something that can help me grow as a mom, you know, not being perfect at it.
Yeah. So, I mean, so vision and plan, practical, just to try to bring it back and tie it up and put a pretty bow on it. To be practical, it's got to be something that you see, right? Something that you can visualize it. And most importantly, being able to put it down on the paper, right? Putting it down on the paper and knowing it, and knowing it doesn't have to be exactly, because as you journey through your life, you're gonna have to reflect, self-reflect, and make adjustments as you go. And things might not look perfect the way that you want them to look, but you're gonna make adjustments. But at least having a good blueprint of what to go off of, right? And then you can talk about the certain steps, practical steps that you can take to make things come to reality.
Yeah. So whenever you kind of have your vision, like really asking yourself, okay, what are my very best next steps? Like, so what's, again, realistic to me, time bound, like when are you going to actually do it? How is that going to be done? And like actually putting it into your calendar. So you need to know like where it is you're going and what area are you focusing on? What is that next best step for you? And then just realize, like, as you're going through the process, it's not just because you have a vision and because you have a plan, it's not going to make it that it's just going to be seamless and easy. It's not going to look perfect, and it's not going to be like, oh, everything is rainbows and butterflies because I got a vision and a plan. Like, everything is either going to work for us, which means that it's giving us the progress that we want, it's actually working, or it's going to work on us, meaning, you know what, we're doing the steps, but it ain't working. But it is working. It's working in building our character. It's building our endurance. It's building our patience. It's building us up to like strengthen us. The Bible tells us that count it all joy when the fiery trial comes upon you for the testing of your faith, because that's what produces endurance and character. So what that's saying is not that we're like, woohoo, I'm so happy that this trial is coming. It's more like, okay, because I am working and it's not actually giving the results, it's teaching me something.
Yep.
There's lessons that I'm learning here that I could not learn if it all just went perfectly just like I planned it, and just knowing that that's not real life and giving ourselves grace in the process. But when it's working on us and not for us, really not wasting that. Sometimes we can go into, when it's not working for us and it's working on us, we can go into woe is me, victim mentality, blah, 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 make up all these excuses to whatever, but that's not going to help us or serve us at all. So then kind of taking a step back and saying, okay, this was my vision. This was my plan. I mean, even in this business, like I had a lot of different visions and plans, and some of them did not work at all. So, but they did, because it showed me what wasn't actually going to work. And so great, that's good feedback, because the whole point is not to make my vision work. It's what's going to serve people and what they want and need and what is going to serve and please God. And so I might have to mess it up a bunch of times until I get it right, but I'm willing to do that, and I'm willing to allow the work to work on me until I can become the person to whom it works for. And so just allowing ourselves to grow and to mature, even when the plan may be like, yep, this is getting me there, or it may be, okay, like this step wasn't really bringing the traction that I wanted it to, so I might need to let go of that step. What am I going to replace it with so that I can continue to not give up on the vision, just adjust the plan?
Yep. Hey, folks, this is Purpose Living, Training to Do Life God's Way. And one of the cool sayings that I always tell myself is, take the risk, not because you know it's going to work, but that's how you're going to know it's going to work. Mm-hmm. So if you have a vision in all 5 areas that we work on, whether it's financial, spiritual, mindset, physical, what was the last one? Relationships, whatever, all those areas, if that is one of them, just write it down on the paper. And just start visualizing. Like, put yourself in there. Start writing things down and make a plan. Put some steps down that you think that is going not think, but put steps down that is going to take you to that promised land of whatever that looks like for you. But it's really important that you put that down on paper and you can see it. And the more that you have it in front of you, you just get the momentum going. It just keeps going. It doesn't stop. So that's what we got. You got any advertisement? No,
we're good.
Hey, we're looking for sponsors. Just saying. No, we have an event coming up.
April 6th.
April 6th. I know it was April 6th. I thought you were going to hop in.
Yeah.
I tossed the alley-oop, but you didn't dunk it. April 6th.
This one is on body and mindset. Really just tying it together, because most of anything that we want to accomplish or do is more mental than it is anything else. And so when we can get that part right and then have a strategic plan to get healthy physically, it's going to be all about getting healthy from the inside out and going home with a plan for you. And if you can't come to that and you're not able to come to that live, but you're like, yeah, you know what, I might need some help with a vision, I might need some help with a plan in any of those areas, like we do one-on-one coaching as well, where we can actually sit there and walk beside you and help you strategically with what is it that you want to accomplish, why is that important to you, who are you becoming, let's make your plan, and let's start to take action on it, and being able to be honest and get rid of any of those barriers that maybe have been holding you back, but that you can really overcome those things so that you can see progress as you move forward.
All right, folks. Purpose Living Coaching, Training to Do Life
God's way.
We'll talk to you guys next week.
Bye.